Hey everybody, I'm back with another Duel review. This is from the top 4 of Obelisk. This is my match versus Don't Copy. I'm playing Warriors, he's playing Chaos Turbo, and that's about it. Let's go ahead and get into it. Like I mentioned in some previous videos, these videos are just kind of a tool to help me improve, and I think that it's kind of forcing me to sit down and look at some replays and kind of face my mistakes, which there'll be quite a few mistakes in pretty much every video you watch on this channel. So let's get into it. Even though I felt like I played fairly well this match, to be completely honest. So he starts and he just sets one and passes. So this is kind of where a lot of the mind games with Gravekeeper Spy and other flips come in versus Chaos Turbo. He knows that I'm playing Warriors, most likely, so there's a couple options here. One is that we can Nobleman this, we can Mind Control this, we can do nothing about this, we can just summon Kaiku and set 4. There's a couple options here. But my thinking is that if he knows that I'm playing Warrior, and he just sets one into an open field, to me this looks like bait. This looks like bait for a knock, bait for a Mystic Swordsman level 2 that he can swing over next turn. This looks like bait for a Exiled Force. No back row set. So I decide to just ignore it. I'm just gonna, assuming this is a Sinister or a Sangan, which, you know, there's an argument to be made to just go ahead and Nobleman it anyway, but I really want to save this for the Spy because I don't have an answer to Spy besides Torrential maybe, but I don't know. So I decided to just go ahead and try to make the read, and it worked out. It was a Sinister, so I was really happy about that. And then instead of setting everything with the Solemn, I decided to set the Heavy Storm. I feel like the Pro Heavy works more against better players because they're not just going to blind MST the first thing that you set a lot of the time, and sometimes you can get some good value out of this, I feel like. And plus, I mean, even if I just trade 1-for-1 with it next turn, then I'll set everything afterwards. So I think this is fine to do. The only concern would be to run into a Dust Shoot or a Duo. Duo is just a Duo. I don't really have any answer to that, but Dust Shoot, I don't have any monsters in hand anyway. So he gets back his Serpent. Then he sets another one, and so he could have just set the Sinister again, but I went ahead and just made the read that this time he set the real set, maybe Spy, maybe Dekoichi or something like that, but I'm going to go ahead and just knock it and just get it out of the way. And so, yeah, and a lot of, his setting that Sinister turn 1 was trying to bait the knock, and then he has the Spy because he knows how valuable the Spy is against Warriors. And so I was really proud of that. I've made a lot of incorrect reads in the past on those sort of situations, and I felt like I played that really well. I do end up not heavying yet, which is interesting, because I think that the standard play would be to heavy, then attack, and then set everything. But I think just holding heavy is okay here. Not sure. Yeah, and then he sets 2 more. One of those is a Solemn. So we have a couple choices. One of those is to set one of the Solemns and then maybe a Dust Shoot, and then kind of see where we're at, and the next turn I can get the heavy to go through by making sure that I Solemn his Solemn with a heavy, because I've looked at his replays before. I know that he plays Solemn, to make sure that the heavy goes through, and then I'm able to set Torrential and then the other Solemn behind. I feel like that puts me in a pretty good spot with the Kaiku on board, and in hindsight that might have been the play, but I really just wanted to get in. Basically this heavy is functioning as a burned card for 3100 damage because I know that he's going to Solemn it. So and he doesn't. I, for some reason, assumed that he had Solemn, and he didn't. But I'm at least letting you know into my thought process at the time when I made these decisions. I didn't even really remember what happened, but in my mind, I thought he had Solemn 100%, but I guess not. So we changed our greed, and so we get a nice, what is that? I get a nice +1. We use the mind control. In hindsight, this might have been a mistake. I would not have expected him to set, as you can see, it's a Sinister. I would not have expected him to set Sinister with a Kaiku on board, because if I summon another monster, I'll just get to banish the Sinister for free, but he probably wasn't expecting the heavy either, so I'll go ahead and put the Serpent in attack. I think that's reasonable, and then set everything behind. I think we're in a really good spot here. And we'll pop the Death Shoot. We see Night Assailant, Magician of Faith, and Dekoichi. So kind of an interesting spot. I decided not to overthink it, and I kind of was overthinking it, and I said, you know what, let's just send the light back. I mean, I don't have a way to deal with any of his flips anyway, so let's just send the light back and call it good. So that's what I end up doing. And I think that's reasonable. Maybe there's an argument to be made to send back to Koichi or even one of the Night Assailants. I'm not sure. I'm not that, I don't know. So send back the light. He sets one. Luckily, we draw into a Mystic Swordsman level 2. That's just such a good draw, because we can protect it with Solemn. We know that he has the Mirror Force, and we'll just I'm happy to Solemn the Mirror Force to get rid of this flip. And now his 2 Night Assailants in hand are virtually useless. If he draws into a Graceful or something like that, we'll definitely Solemn that. He draws Tribe, which is a nice pickup, and I think that it's worth Solemning here. I think it's the play to make. We know he has Sinister, exiled in hand. He'll be able to get his Dekoichi back, even though so I think that's the play to make. Go ahead and swing in here, banish. I think this is all fairly straightforward. Maybe there's an argument not to set call here, because Heavy Storm would kind of be brutal, but I don't know. I think that the chances of him drawing that one card are pretty slim. So, and he just scoops. Interesting. I'm curious why he didn't play a little more, but maybe he just, I think it was game anyway. No, I think that was a reasonable scoop. So let me go into game 2. I was really proud of how I played that early with reading the Serpent turn 1. But I mean, it might have just been a lucky read. I don't know. So I side into Cliff. I side into 7 Tools because I've seen from replays that he plays Solemns. And then I side into Cliff because I know that he has been running Messenger of Peace as like a side deck tech against Warriors. And so Cliff is really good there. So then he sets one again, and he did it really quickly right after using Upstart. And so I don't know. I think that he's a good player. Don't copy's good. And so I'm thinking in my head that he probably knew that turn 1, like last turn, he knew I had Nobleman turn 1 and I didn't use it. I went ahead and just attacked blindly into the first monster, which was the Sinister. And so I'm thinking maybe this turn he might have adjusted accordingly and just went ahead and just set the Spy, didn't check for the knock because I didn't use it turn 1 anyway. So this turn, let's just go ahead and go in with level 2 and take care of whatever this face down is. I decide not to set, I did not use Exiled because he doesn't have a back row to stop my attack from going through. So, And it was a spy, so another good read there. I was happy with that. Most of the time, I'm not getting those right, though I realize pretty much as soon as I attacked that I'm setting him up for light and dark and grave, which I just have to be better about playing against chaos, is paying attention to light and dark and grave. So yeah, didn't have the foresight to kind of notice that. So maybe I should have set solemn there. If we run into a heavy storm, then that kind of sucks. Also breaker, if he brings out breaker, that kind of sucks. But I don't know. Maybe I should have set solemn there. Yeah, that kind of cost me. Now that I think about it, I think I would have just instantly solemn the sorcerer and just try to simplify the game state as much as possible. We know he has 2 Thunder Dragons in hand, and so yeah, I'm not sure. And now we're in a pretty tough spot because we don't have an answer to the Chaos Sorcerer. We're at 9,000 life points, so I'm willing to take an attack or 2, but eventually I need to get something going. So I just go ahead and pass. I'm hoping to draw into another Rhoda for an exiled, or draw into an exiled itself, or some sort of battle trap potentially. There's a few cards that I could draw into that would be nice here. Blade Knight would be good because I can crash and bring out my BLS, even though that's not ideal. There's a few cards that could help me out here. So I go ahead and take the 23, and he's just putting so much pressure with this face down as well. And this is already just not a great spot to be in because I need an answer for the sorcerer as quick as possible. So I set the cliff mainly to try to get a dark engrave. And just to protect my life points. And I think this is a reasonable spot to set all of these face downs as well. I think we're just in a losing position by not setting this solemn earlier, knowing that he has light and dark and grave. I think that was the mistake. Though he could, yeah, I'm not sure. Because even if we solemn the sorcerer, he might have another chaos play. Let's, real quick, just for argument's sake, let's see if he does. Yeah, he has a BLS in hand, so yeah, it might not have mattered too much anyway. But if we solemn the Chaos Sorcerer and he doesn't BLS immediately, we could bring out Kaiku and we have some good stuff to protect it with. So then he couldn't summon BLS. So, but then he has Tsukiyomi. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the right play was there, but definitely not in a great spot here. So I draw into a light monster. So I'm just trying to think of what would be the best. What's the best option here? Basically, the two things, and the thing that was kind of, I was tunnel visioned on, was making sure that I got a light engrave so that I can get this BLS live. I have a Solemn to protect it. I have a Dust Tornado to protect against Snatch. I have a few good cards in my hand. I have Kaiku to follow up with, so I really wanted to get this engraved. So I thought about setting Sasuke, and then hoping that he attacks, and the next turn I can do some stuff. But I think I just got a little impatient, and I just wanted to get that Sasuke into grave as fast as possible for BLS. And I know making this play that I'm putting myself at a disadvantage because I'm bringing out BLS so early, but I just feel like I needed to make something happen as quick as possible. And whether that's right or wrong, I'm not totally sure. But I think maybe setting the Sasuke would have been a better option. I was also concerned about just getting blown out by like a heavy, then I don't know. Probably should have just set the Sasuke. Protected my life. The next turn I could follow up with Breaker and kind of bring out the BLS more on my terms rather than this just feels a bit desperate. Brings out Breaker. Don't want to see that. Don't think it's worth solemning it. We really need to save this solemn for any really big pushes. And he hits the solemn, which is unfortunate. We know that wow, and I let him take the Snatch. I don't think that's right at all. My only thinking is that he won't He won't tribute. I don't know why I let this happen. I think I just didn't want to take the damage, so I just was going to wait till battle phase to Dust Tornado the Snatch, but he could easily tribute this off for Thunder Dragon. He could use its effect to banish itself. He could bring out Tsukiyomi to... Well, he couldn't bring out Tsu because he summoned Breaker, but... there's a few things that could happen here to my BLS that I should have just dusted this instantly. I think in some cases it is better to hold on to it, but I think here I probably should have used it right away. But it works out for us, thankfully. So, uses Faith. Didn't even consider that one of those face downs could be Faith, which it's pretty obvious that it could be, and we get our BLS stolen back again anyway. And this game is just kind of spiraling out of control. Definitely a few things I could have done better there. Book really isn't doing a whole lot for us. He has one face down that he hasn't flipped up, so I'm thinking it's Spy, it's Sanguine, it's Sinister. It's kind of what I have in mind. I summon Kaiku and go ahead. I think that's reasonable to summon Kaiku, and I'm go ahead and attack the Spy first. Or attack the Faith first. Regardless, he's going to be able to get a light engrave because of the Thunder Dragon in hand, so it doesn't really matter what I attack. He's going to be able to crash regardless. And I just wanted to make sure he wasn't able to Book of Moon his Faith or Tsukiyomi it and loop me to death. I needed to try to make some sort of push. There comes the Tsukiyomi. Now I could book one of these on the attack, but it's still going to die, so we'll just let this go through. Still am okay on life. And Tsukiyomi really hurts warriors when you're behind like this. If you're neck and neck with warriors, it's okay. It's not amazing because you're still going to be taking a lot of damage to get in and not establishing a board presence while, the warriors will keep summoning and getting in damage. But when warriors are behind, Tsukiyomi is just such a problem to deal with. I think right here is just kind of desperation. I'm just trying to get aggressive and try to make something happen. We run into a Saku that I use my 7 tools on. Not sure if that was necessary. And we know that the Tsukiyomi's coming, so I think I had in my mind to solemn it regardless whether or not, because even if I draw some good cards, if I draw Blade Knight, if I draw Rhoda, if I draw basically anything out, any monster outside of DD Warrior Lady and Donzalug, I'm screwed anyway. So even though I sided out Donzalug, so yeah, maybe should have saved the Solemn. Maybe I should have just let the Tsukiyomi run that over. Then we'd have the Solemn for the BLS, and he still has 2 Thunder Dragons in hand, and he'll still have Light and Dark and Grave. But I think maybe saving the Solemn and not using it on the Tsukiyomi would have been the play. But so then he brings out Spy for exactly 2,400 damage. So we're gonna have to book one of these. Maybe should have taken the book out game 2. I like my siding strategy against Turbo. Maybe book should go. I know the book is not perfect against warriors, or against Turbo, but I think it still has its uses. All right, go into game 3, which I remember fumbling like I do most game 3s. So let's see exactly what we did wrong here. So I go ahead and decided graceful. Basically, we're trying to get some of these monsters out of our hands. So I go ahead and ditch Blade Knight because I'm not going to be setting my whole hand if I don't have Solemn. That's my thinking there. And I go ahead and ditch Sasuke because we have a few ways to deal with spies between Mind Control and Mystic Swords in level 2. I know that he probably sided out Nobleman, so I go ahead and set Magician of Faith And then once again, I set Heavy Storm. I mean, it worked well for me game 1, so I just try to go for it again game 3. This is not something I always do. It just happened a lot in this duel. And maybe it would be better to just set Ring. And yeah. I don't know. Because I just feel like getting value out of Heavy Storm against good players, not doing it this way is really hard to do. So that's my thinking here. He uses swords. Summons Tribe. I think fake think because I want him to think that I maybe have some sort of battle trap set that I'm saving, hoping to bait him into setting another face down, and he doesn't. So I draw a breaker. It's a good draw because we didn't have an answer for this. Well, we didn't have a monster answer for this. I think the play is pretty standard here. Just get some value out of this breaker. An attack over, though I also could have heavied, then kept the token on breaker, then attacked over, then set like the ring behind. That might have been better. Actually, now that I sit here and think about this. That's why looking at replay is good. You notice stuff like that maybe would have been more obvious. So, but I don't think this is horrible either. This is a pretty good spot to be in. We're going to get a free attack with this Mystic Swordsman. I think this is a good time to heavy. And he wouldn't have been able to set this if the breaker was on the field. So, I don't know. Maybe that was the better play. So, he has a set Night Assailant, which sets up Light and Dark. So, we're just going to go ahead and try to get Chaos out of here with this newly drawn duo, which is really good. And I mean, this is a really, really good spot to be in. At this point, I'm thinking, man, I might have actually pulled this off. Yeah. And then he summons a Sangan. So we know that okay, so we got rid of both Thunder Dragons. And so, yeah, basically 2 mystery cards. Sangan is really tough. Side note to Saku, I actually did think about this a little bit, but in hindsight, if I did, it might have helped save me the game, but I end up not, and I think it's okay that I didn't. I don't think it was a huge misstep. I'm just basically hoping, all right, if I can just draw any sort of monster that can get over the Sangan, I can attack over, and then whatever he grabs, whether it be Spy or Faith or Tsukiyomi, I'll have an answer to. So that's my thinking. And we draw into another level 2, which really sucks. So I'm just gonna pass and just wait and see what he does. I'm willing to just take another 1,000. And he sets 1. So here we go. We have a monster that can get over Sangan. I just want to keep the pressure on, right? The game state is super simplified. He asked if I want to use priority. I just want to keep putting on the pressure. He ends up grabbing Dekoichi. Okay, whatever. I'll mind control it. I'll do whatever. Right here, I decide to set Ring. Don't know if that's great, but we know he has 1 set. I'm not thinking that he set Heavy Storm, so I think it's okay. I don't think it's horrible. Just trying to add a little extra protection in case he brings out a breaker or something like that. So then we run into Heavy and BLS and Dekoichi for game. That hurts. I mean, that hurts. That much damage just out of nowhere. But I should have been more prepared for it. I don't know. There's a lot of ifs about that game. Overall, though, I'm pretty happy with how I played. The game didn't go my way at the end. I would have really liked to make a deeper run in this obelisk, but overall, I'm happy with how I played. I think that I made a few mistakes. I think that my use of Solemn Judgment in Game 2 might have hurt me. Was it this game or Game 2? I can't remember. I think my use of Solemn Judgment was a little too hasty earlier because I felt I was not in a winning position. Yeah, that was Game 2. That might have helped me. I was really happy with my reads on what he set early game, with Game 1 being the Serpent and Game 2 being the Spy. I feel like I played that well. But yeah, I was just a little hasty with the Solemns, I think. And maybe should have anticipated this BLS more, Game 3, though I didn't. It's tough. Maybe you should have Sakuretsu'd the Sengen, because he wouldn't have had the heavy storm at that point, and we could have mind controlled whatever he got. If he got Greyce, we could have mind controlled it, but maybe he wouldn't have anyway, so he might have gotten Spy. Yeah, I'm not sure. But overall, I'm fairly happy with how I played this duel. I'm not super upset about it. I think this is one of my better performances because if you've seen in some of my other videos, I really fumbled the bag in Game 3 against some better opponents. So overall, not bad. Improvement, I think, in at least some way, shape, or form. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll keep doing these as long as I'm still interested in GOAT format. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.